guys, Coach Caglione here. This is another edition of our Meathead Monday Tips. These are gimmicky exercises that actually work. And today we're going to talk about the hip circle. And now, if for whatever reason you don't want to actually get a hip circle, there's many, different companies, there's glute loops and all these things. I personally like the hip circle because it's made of a fabric material. And I think, Mark Bell's someone who supported myself and he's been a good friend and and know his family for many years. So we've always had a lot of success with this product. So, and I don't get any kind of reimbursement or anything for saying this. I just think that he makes a really great product. So I want to support people that support us and support powerlifting. So a lot of people kind of think these exercises are gimmicky, but the truth is, whether you're a raw lifter or if you're an equipped lifter, even more so, having stronger hips is always going to be really helpful. And for athletes, I think it's paramount as well. Stronger hips is going to give you a stronger total, going to allow for less kind of injuries, resiliency. There's so many benefits to it. So I want to kind of go through, because there's different types of hip circles, because I think a lot of times, I think most people will just get the standard one. This is a grippy one. This is kind of a medium size. And this is kind of going to probably be good for 80 to 90% of your activities. But as you get stronger, you want to have ways to progress the resistance. So this is like the big ass hip circle, I believe it's called. It's a little bit bigger. And this is a hip circle sport. So depending on what exercise you're doing, if you're doing kind of more straight leg standing abductions, which we'll go over in a second, the smaller one is going to be better. If I'm doing more walking type exercises where it's not as much range of motion, the thicker is going to be better. And for things in between, or if you're a newer person, then the medium-sized one. For today, I'm just going to I'll probably just actually use the grippy one for most of the demos. But again, if I'm doing longer range of motion, so if I'm doing any type of, so this is like straight leg abduction exercises. So whether I'm doing these standing, I like to internally rotate my hip a little bit. So I can kind of do these here. I can kind of do these bent over on a bench, or there's many different variations that I can do depending on what I'm trying to work. But anything with a straight leg, this smaller hip circle sport is going to be kind of a better option. If I'm doing these on the floor, that kind of thing. Anything with a straight leg, which you don't need as much resistance for. When you're starting out, doing kind of fire hydrant type stuff or clamshell type stuff, if I'm just kind of learning, the hip circle sport's probably a better option because you don't need as much resistance for those exercises. If I'm doing your traditional kind of abduction external rotation, or if I'm warming up before a squat workout, if I'm doing some squats with RNT, so the hip circle is going to pull my knees in. It's going to teach me to force out. The medium size is good. So there's a couple different ways I could do this. When I finish, I don't like to have my kind of feet roll too much because I want to mimic the squat position. So I want my big toe, little toe, and heel on the ground. Ideally, if I have a little bit of a torso angle, even better, because that's going to mimic the position. So I can just do very short pulses here. So I'm getting external rotation and abduction, and I can pretend I'm holding the squat bar. If I want to make it a little bit more range of motion, I can let my knees collapse fully and then push out. Another thing I've been kind of playing with is just kind of, this seat's a little unstable, but is just kind of coming here. Let me sit up here. And kind of coming in and out like this. But there's a lot of different kind of, that's a little bit more dynamic, but the regular kind of just, quote unquote, good girl, bad girl, whatever you want to call it, is so shoving the knees out, letting the knees come in slowly. So that's a really great exercise. Any type of glute bridge variation, I'll usually use the big ass hip circle, but just anytime you do any type of bridge, adding a hip circle is going to add another level of complexity and also train your abductors and external rotators that much more. And anytime I'm doing walking stuff, I like to use the big one for the purposes of today. So any type of walking stuff, and again, we're always going to keep the hip circle above the knees. And if I don't have a lot of space, I can literally just walk back and forth like this. Sometimes I'll do straight leg walking. Sometimes I'll walk diagonally. All this stuff is great for warm up, and it's great for kind of drilling positions. Even if I was a sumo, if I'm working up for like a sumo deadlift. So this would be just good for like warm up type stuff. So you can use it as a warm up. You could use it as an accessory movement, depending on what rep range you're doing. But the hip circle is a really awesome tool because a lot of us have problems with our knees coming in. So in order to have the strength to keep our knees out, so if you're a wide stance squatter, if you're a sumo deadlifter, or if you're just a squatter whose knees collapse in, the hip circle is a really great tool to cue you. It's a really great tool to train the hips, and it's a really great tool just to kind of build up all the muscles around the hips. So that's why we like the hip circle. Make sure you use an appropriate size for the exercise that you're doing. That's really important. That's really it. So definitely you can go to howmuchyoubench.net, markbellslingshot.com. Again, we don't get any kickbacks from this. It just wants to help you out. So we recommend all our clients get a hip circle. Awesome tool. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe. If you want to support our program, check out the links below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.